Human design can be a really complicated knowledge to come across at first. And I think every single person that comes across this knowledge interacts with it extremely uniquely, as is expected, because we're all unique and we're all interested in different things and learn things differently. But I wanted to create something that can be somewhat of help to people that are relatively new to human design or are just kind of entering into this space and are wondering, how the heck do I understand all of this and where should I begin? And I think in this video, what I'm really going to share is some basic concepts to give you the overall kind of overarching understanding of some of the concepts in human design and what we're trying to do with this knowledge when we're working with people as human design analysts or as human design guides and teachers. I think every single person in this day and age is relatively familiar with astrology and at least has a basic understanding of what astrology is saying. And I think that's a great starting point because essentially what astrology is saying is that at the time of our birth, the planets of our solar system, which have certain characteristics, were located in a specific place in the sky. And because of where they were located when we were born, we were imprinted with certain predispositions. Similar to that, human design says that yes, it's true that at the time of our births, the planets in our solar system imprinted us with certain characteristics. But human design also says that it's not just at the time of birth that we were imprinted, but we were also imprinted with certain predispositions approximately 88 to 89 days before our birth. The imprints that we receive at the time of our birth are called personality imprints or personality activations. And our personality activations are something that we are conscious of. Think of the personality activations or the personality imprints as who you think you are, or how you think what you think. It's how your personality, the conscious part of you, is designed to express itself in the world. The imprinting that happens 88 or 89 days before birth are your design activations or your design imprinting. This is the unconscious part of you. These imprints predispose you to having a certain kind of physical form. These are probably aspects of you that other people realize about you before you realize about yourself, if you ever realize them about yourself. The basic thing to understand here is that you and I share the same genetic matrix. We all have the same genetic potential within us. It's just that what's highlighted within you is different than what's highlighted within me. And this is why we actually have different physical bodies and different personalities. It's not like your body doesn't have a liver or it doesn't have a heart or you don't have eyes. For the most part, most of us will be born with a human body that has all of these components. However, what's highlighted in my genetic form is going to be very different than what's highlighted in your genetic form. So the personality activations are the conscious aspects of you that have been highlighted by the planets in our solar system. And the design activations are the physical predispositions that have been highlighted within your physical form, within your unconscious being, within your biogenetic vehicle. So, if you've ever looked at an astrology birth chart, you can see that the zodiac represents different positions in the sky, and the planets are moving through these different positions, and your birth chart is equivalent to taking a picture of what the sky looked like when you were born. Well, a human design chart can also be displayed this way. However, what makes the human design chart or body graph really, really unique is that we have a juxtaposition of these two imprints, the personality imprinting and the design imprinting, the conscious imprinting and the unconscious imprinting. And actually, a lot more is revealed about who you really are and what your genetic highlighting is when we juxtapose these two imprintings in the way that we do through the human design chart. And before we get into the details of what this chart really is, what all of these different shapes and numbers and colors mean, what's really important to understand is that instead of looking at the different zodiacs and the different houses through which planets move in astrology, we look at 64 hexagrams. And these 64 hexagrams or gates are correlated with the 64 codons that we have in our genetic makeup. So essentially, what human design is saying that every single one of us is a unique representation of different genetic highlighting. What's also so unique about a human design chart or the way that it's combined together pictorially is that it's not like we're looking at the conscious activations and unconscious activations in isolation. But a human design chart essentially is a quantum summation or a juxtaposition of these two imprintings or activations. Essentially, what human design is saying is that you and I are unique representatives of the summation of unique personalities and unique bodies. And also that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, meaning that our quantum is actually something entirely different from the parts that make us who we are. And the quantum of our personality, or what people commonly call as our soul, and our physical body is magnetically held together by a dark matter instrument called the magnetic monopole. The physics of human design isn't really something that you need to be concerned about right now, but it's important to understand that the unique being that you are is magnetically held together and is a juxtaposition between your soul, your personality, your conscious aspects, and your body, your form, your unconscious aspects. So now we understand that you and I, and basically everything that exists here on this planet, is a result of unique genetic highlighting, which happens through the positions of the planets, and that a human design chart is nothing but a pictorial representation of the unique genetic predispositions that we have, not only when it comes to our mind, but also to our physical body. So now when you look at any human design chart, you can see that the personality activations are represented in black on the right-hand side, and the design activations or the unconscious activations are depicted on the left-hand side in red. And the actual human design chart shows how these two different kinds of activations interact with each other on the surface. What you can see here also is that the 64 hexagrams or the 64 gates that we spoke about in the Rave Mandala are actually also located in the body graph itself. the way that they are represented in the Rave mandala is actually very different from the way that they are represented on an actual body graph. We can see that these 64 hexagrams or archetypical energies or archetypical genetic imprinting are located in 9 different shapes. And these 9 different shapes are actually referred to as centers. Think of the body graph as a circuit board, if you will, and think of these centers as hubs of energy, or where these 64 different archetypical groups of energies meet and interact. And every single center then becomes responsible for certain functions in the physical and mental body. However, when you look at different charts and different body graphs, what you will notice is that these different centers or shapes are highlighted differently in different charts. So we might have a chart in which there are no centers that are colored in. We might have a chart in which all the centers are colored in, and we have every combination in the middle. What colors in a center, and in human design language, we call that definition. What makes definition possible is when two gates connect two centers. So here you can see my chart and you can see that I have definition in two centers. Two shapes are colored in. One is colored in green and one is colored in brown. And what makes these shapes colored in, or what defines these centers, is the connection between gate 17 and gate 62. 62, as you can see, is highlighted in red, and therefore it is a design activation. It's a form activation. And gate 17 is highlighted in black, meaning that it's a personality activation. It's a conscious activation. So two active gates form a channel and therefore create definition in two centers. And depending on what combination of centers you have defined, your auric type is created. Think of your aura type as the electromagnetic density that you present as in the world. In really simple words, your aura actually gives away information about what is defined within you, what is highlighted within you, and the way that you are meant to operate in the world. Roughly speaking, there are 4 different kinds of auras. And I say roughly speaking because every single person, or actually anything that exists on the planet, has its own magnetic field. And therefore, every single aura is going to be completely different. However, if we had to look at a broad classification of how different aura types show up, there would be 4. The first kind of aura is a manifestor aura, and this is a closed and repelling aura. Think of it as a really, really dense aura. Think of it as an aura that is so tightly packed within itself that it's really difficult for you to read it, that it's very impactful, and yet whenever you're around someone like that, it doesn't feel like you can really interact with it unless it wants to interact with you. The second aura type is that of a reflector, which is a resisting and sampling aura. So this isn't an aura that is as densely packed as a manifestor aura, but is an aura that is open to tasting other auras, interacting with large groups of people, and then kind of reflecting back what it picked up from the group itself. So again, this is an aura that is hard to put your finger on in a lot of ways. The third kind of aura is that of a projector, and this is an absorbing and focused aura. These are aura types that are designed to penetrate into the aura of others and focus deeply on them and absorb what is in front of them. These auras are designed to interact with others one on one and guide their energy by deeply recognizing their patterns through absorption. And the fourth kind of aura is the generator aura, which is open and enveloping. And this is a rather open, friendly aura that is open to receiving others and open to responding to them once it receives others. This kind of aura is designed to build with energy upon response. The important thing to understand so far or to recognize so far is that because of the way in which we are imprinted and how that imprint is juxtaposed together, is combined together, our aura has a certain quality to it. It has a certain frequency to it. And it also has a natural way of functioning in the world. For example, a person with a manifestor aura that has a closed and repelling aura is a deeply impactful aura that can really pave the way or that can really initiate something new in the world. The way that their aura is electromagnetically combined is actually enabling them to fulfill a certain kind of function in the world. Each one of us, because of the way that our aura operates, has a specific unique function in the world. And this is exactly what gives us our strategy to move in the world. So if you're in human design and you find out that you're a generator type, that you have a generator aura, and that your strategy is to wait to respond, and we don't have to get into why that is your strategy, maybe that's for another video, but my point being is that every single human being is a specific kind of electromagnetic density or frequency or aura. And because of the way that it shows up in the world, it has a specific way of moving in the world. It has a specific function in the world. It has a specific way of navigating this density, this Maya, this electromagnetic field. And also because of what definition we have in our chart, what centers we have defined in our charts, or what centers we have colored in our charts, we also have a place of inner authority or decision making within us. So, what a human design chart actually shows us, it shows us our personality activations, our conscious activations. It shows us our design activations, our unconscious activation. It shows us what the quantum of those two is. It shows us a circuit board of how it energetically operates within us, how we are designed to navigate this world, and how we are designed to uniquely make our decisions. So, the next concept to understand here, since we've understood the concept of definition, is the concept of openness. Okay, cool. We have this specific genetic highlighting or imprinting, but what about everything that's white? What about everything else in the chart that isn't defined, that isn't colored? This is what is referred to as openness. A really simple way of looking at definition is what you are here to output in the world. It is something that is defined within you. It is something that is highlighted within you. It is something that is fixed within you. It is something that you have consistent access to, and therefore you can output into the world. And because of that output, you receive a certain amount of result in terms of fulfillment. Say, for example, if you look at my chart, I have definition in the Ajna center, which is this green triangle. And I have definition in the throat center. And I have that definition because I have two active gates here. Like we mentioned previously, the 62, which is unconsciously imprinted, and the 17, which is consciously imprinted. And together, these two gates combine to form a channel, a quantum. And this is the only definition that I have within my chart. Of course, I also have some other activations which are known as dormant gates, which we'll talk about in just a second. But right now, let's just look at the Ajna center and the throat center and the channel that I have defined through the gates that I have defined. Now, this is my definition. This is something that is consistently fixed within me. This is something that I'm interacting with on a consistent basis, and as a result, outputting into the world. And like I mentioned previously, every single center is responsible for some specific functions. The Ajna center, which is this green triangle up here, is the conceptualization center in human beings. This is where consistent thinking happens so mental certainty can be reached. The brown square underneath the triangle is called the throat center, and this is the center that's responsible for all metabolic and communication functions. So, what I have consistently within me is this ability to think logically, to conceptualize logically, and to share my logic and my opinions with a great amount of detail. This is a process within me, this logical understanding process that is something that is fixed and consistent, and I can constantly put out in the world. In addition to expressing the channel that I have as a life force within me, I can also consistently express the active gates that I have in my defined centers, like the 35th gate, which talks about progress, and the 45th gate, which is related to educating the tribe. Now, everything else that you see that's not colored in is where I am open, or this is where you would say I am undefined. A really simple way of understanding openness is to look at it as a place where I am open to influence. This is where I can take in influence, where I can absorb other people's definition and amplify it within my system. So, what human design is showing us that yes, every single one of us is a unique imprint of what we are here to output into the world, of what we are here to, in a way, contribute to the world. But we are also a receptor of influence, a receptor of other people's definitions. So, not only am I uniquely designed to exist and think and act and behave, other people are also designed to do that. And we are designed to interact with each other and be changed by that interaction. Our definition is our place of contribution, whereas our openness is the place in which we can be influenced by others and our environment, and also the place where we are here to learn lessons and become wise about what we experience. Influence from the outside in our openness in human design language is called conditioning or programming. In essence, we are designed to program others and be programmed by others. And it's not that we're just programmed by other human beings. We are also designed to be programmed by inanimate objects, by single-celled organisms, by insects, by plants, birds, reptiles, and fish, by mammals. We are designed to condition and be conditioned by everything that exists on this planet through our openness. And not only are we designed to be programmed by everything that exists on the planet, we are also designed to be programmed by the movements of the planets as they move through the sky in real time. And not only that, we are also designed to be programmed by larger planetary cycles like the 28 to 30-year cycle of the planet Saturn, or Uranus opposition, or the cycle of Chiron. Now, I don't want you to get overwhelmed by all of this information, but just to understand this very basic but absolutely integral point that you and I are designed to influence the world that we live in and be influenced by it in a very, very deep way. And this is what we call evolution of consciousness. The problem, however, that human design recognizes is that we are completely disempowered in our own true definition, and also highly unaware of the ways in which we are influenced or conditioned or programmed by our environment. The result of that is that we are actually not able to live out our unique purpose. We are not able to differentiate enough to really fulfill our unique role in the world. When we really look at our human design chart or any human design chart, it very quickly becomes evident that there is a lot more white than there is definition. There is a lot more openness. There is a lot more receptors in every single human being than there is definition. And therefore, the potential of being lost in our openness, the potential of being lost in our conditioning is very high. And this is where the concept of your true self and the not self actually reveals itself. Your true self is your definition in action when you interact with the world around you in a way that who you are is highlighted, who you are is empowered, who you are is enhanced, as a result of which you have a really fulfilling experience here on earth. Whereas your not self is your conditioning in action, which means that you're interacting with the world in a way in which your uniqueness or your definition is being suppressed instead of uplifted. And the result of that is obviously you experiencing a lot of resistance and a deep sense of being unfulfilled. Another really important thing to understand about the not self and the way that it operates is that the not self operates through mental strategies. So let's have a look at my chart. So this triangle on the bottom right side of the chart is the solar plexus center. This is the hub of all emotional activity in human beings and is deeply correlated with the nervous system. So you can see that I don't have definition here. I do have some dormant potentials, some activations. However, what we don't have here is a full channel, and therefore we don't have consistent access to my emotional system. In other words, I am not consistently a very emotional person. However, around my mother, who has a defined solar plexus, I can act quite emotional. A really simple way of describing someone like this is to maybe think of them as an empath, someone that's really capable of absorbing other people's emotions and having a very amplified experience of them in their system. Understanding that our openness is where we amplify the energy or the definition of others is very important because it reveals why we develop mental strategies around them. So I'm not emotional usually by myself, unless, of course, the planetary movement is making me emotional. But usually, for simplification purpose, I'm not emotional by myself. And then I step into my mother's aura, or my mother steps into my aura, and suddenly I start experiencing her emotional system and her emotional wave. Now, granted, I do have some dormant activations in my emotional system. So it isn't necessary that all of the emotions that I'm experiencing are her emotions. They will be a combination of my emotions and her emotions. And the way that I experience them is actually quite amplified. A really simple way that I explain this to people is like, if my mom is feeling a 5 on 10 low, I'm probably going to feel that in my system is a 9 on 10 sadness. And because the amplification is so intense, my mind will step in and start to develop strategies to avoid feeling this way. A really simple way of coping for someone like me without awareness of what's really happening here is then to try to please the other person as much as possible, because I don't want them to have an emotionally low experience and feel that amplified in my own body. So you can see here that over a period of time, without awareness of what's really happening in connection with my mother, I can become someone that's quite avoidant of my own truth and become someone that will lie to myself to please others. Our openness without awareness becomes a place of great suffering and distortion, and as a result, a place where we develop not self strategies and are forced to operate out of alignment with who we really are. Our openness becomes a place in which we are trained by our own mind to betray ourselves. Our openness becomes a place in which we try to become like others or try to cope with the uniqueness of others in a way that doesn't actually honor who we really are. What human design offers us is a recognition of what our unique inherent predisposition is and how to operate in a way in the world that our uniqueness actually gets to shine its light, that it gets to actually make its contribution in the world, that it gets to actually fulfill its unique purpose. And it also offers us an opportunity to deal with our openness, to deal with the influence of our environment, to deal with the programming and the conditioning that we receive from the world in an aware way, so that who we are actually gets to express itself in the world. Human design is an awareness language that helps you recognize yourself, that helps you navigate in the world as yourself, that helps you recognize the places in which you can develop more wisdom and awareness, that helps you experience genuine fulfillment, that helps you live out your unique purpose, that shows you that you are not who you think you are, because who you think you are is a result of the programming that you have received throughout your life, that shows you that making mental decisions is actually making conditioned decisions, that the best way to make a decision is to honor what is consistent within you. Human design is an awareness tool to free yourself of the burdens that you have been carrying that aren't actually bringing you fulfillment, and to navigate as yourself in the world so you can meet forces and people and be in environments that actually enhance who you are and support who you are and uplift who you are rather than suppressing your unique expression. Human design is a map of your true self and your not self that you can use to experience deep, genuine fulfillment.